it's really easy to kind of get caught in isolation just simply from the place that there's so many things that can distract us. I mean, we've got social media now that we can
That's true.
know a lot about a lot of people. We can know a lot of information, but we don't know them.
That's it. We know the information. We might know where they went on their vacation this year, but we don't have intimate relationships.
Yeah, we see it with the phones, smartphones, that people are kind of locked in. And then before we know it, we're isolating ourselves. We're isolating our lives, and we're not really knowing or being known.
Thanks for joining the Home Matters Podcast with Eric and Gena Boggs, where they lead authentic, raw discussions about marriage, family life, kids, intimacy, and sex from a biblical perspective. Here's your host, Eric and Gena Boggs.
Well, welcome to Home Matters Podcast number 103. Except I just went 103. That's not right.
Yeah, good to have you with us today.
That's right.
Hope you're doing great out there.
He's Eric. And I'm Gena.
Yep. And we're always glad we can take a few minutes with you.
So glad. We're glad we can take a few minutes with you, but we're super glad that you are taking a few minutes with us because, they have a choice, right?
Yeah. Again, we don't ever take that for granted.
That's right. Thank you. And thank you for, let me say this, prioritizing your home and your family, your marriage, and spending a few minutes maybe each week on that.
If you're out there, again, fighting the fight,
real life.
In real life, you may be
That's right.
maybe out there, maybe different kind of home setting. Maybe you're a single parent or whatever. Mm-hmm. Either way, again, wherever you are.
That's right.
Thank you.
We are glad you are here. So, what are we talking about today? Hey, let me say this before we start. Marriage Matters Getaway. Yep, still got a little time to sign up for that. The regular September event has been bumped up to August 8 to 10.
Yeah.
8 through the 10th.
August 8th through 10th in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah. So
actually, the address of the hotel is Mount Pleasant, right?
It is. It's right at, really kind of at the foot of the Ravenel Bridge. Yeah. And, beautiful area.
Been to Charleston before. It's a beautiful area.
Yeah. Now, it'll be hot in August.
Yeah, it'll be hot, but the beach is out there.
That's right. Time for you to go to the beach. So we would love you to join us. That is a smaller setting than the one we do in the winter. So maybe go ahead and get signed up for that. Yeah.
We are talking about being alone. We're talking about alone.
Does that show still come on?
It does.
Alone? He loves that show. Although he does not, ! Not like to be alone, do you?
No.
He doesn't like to be alone. But
if they put, usually those folks that are, if you know the show we're talking about, it's on History Channel. It's like
I'd forgotten about that show.
Yeah,
like a survival
thing,
right?
We didn't watch it last season because I kind of
maybe
got
that's
turned
why I
off
forgot
at
about it.
So
okay,
and they were maybe
don't go watch it.
I think it was kind of staged. I don't know that, but I think it was kind of staged. So
okay.
Anyway, these guys are left out alone. They're dropping off the equipment, the cameras, the batteries. They drop those every 7 days.
There's some other shows that do that too.
Yeah, but let me finish telling so we can get our
Sorry, I interrupted,
but
guys.
They are left totally alone, and it's amazing how many of the guys break simply not because they're hungry.
That's right.
Not because they're afraid. They break because they are alone.
That's right. They want to be back with their families.
Yeah.
And even some of them that really, maybe aren't married or maybe don't even have kids.
Yeah.
They say the same thing, that they just miss people.
The isolation.
Yeah, the isolation is real.
And with that, again, there's a great example. Again, good, from the beginning, God said, man's not meant to be alone. So
that's right.
But with that, I've seen guys that are really good survival guys. They've got all these skills.
Yeah.
And they have complete meltdowns.
They say it's just not worth it, right? And they can win like $1 million or something crazy, 100,000.
No, I think it's like $500,000.
Well, either way.
But anyway, we're created
for a
than
relationship.
that, and we're created for a relationship.
That's right. That's right. We believe that, right?
We're never supposed to be in isolation.
That's
right. Not what God created.
So that's kind of the topic today, intimacy or isolation. And I think you can carry that through all your family relationships, but it starts with our relationship with God, because we really crave intimacy. And we can say that because we know that God created us that way. God desired intimacy with us, close relationship, right? That's why mankind was created. And then in our own selves, we are created to need other people. Yeah. Man, we need community. We need relationship. And that is true,
especially in our home, right?
Right. Yeah.
If you're single out there and living by yourself, you got to get outside of the home, but you still need
you need people.
Relationships. You need intimate relationships.
That's right.
That you are known.
That's so true.
Or that you know other people. I've always heard people always need to be needed and they need to be known.
Yeah.
And I believe that's true across the relationship spectrum as far as different kinds of relationships.
I think, and most of you know that listen, Eric and I pastor a church in Pelzer, South Carolina. And man, whether you are in our area or in another church body, you need the fellowship and the community of a church, of a home church. So wherever you are, man, we'd encourage you outside of your family relationships to seek out the relationship, the intimacy of being known.
Need to be part of community.
That's right. That's right. And that, we said it, but that started at the beginning. Yeah. Right? It started in Genesis. And I know a lot of people, in talking about home and family, a lot of people think that, that need I have for relationship can be met in a marriage, in an intimate relationship with my spouse. But we also know as well, there are a lot of times when, even married couples are not experiencing that intimacy.
Just because you sign the dotted line does not mean that's automatic.
That's right.
Right. And I think that
people can live very isolated and lonely.
A lot of times people get in places where they may be in a marriage, may have a family, but they're still very isolated.
So true, yeah.
They don't have real connectivity. They don't have real relationship with the people that God's put in their life. And I think in the day we're living in, I think it's really easy to kind of get caught in isolation just simply from the place that there's so many things that can distract us. I mean, we've got social media now that we can know a lot about a lot of people. We can know a lot of information, but we don't know them.
That's it. We know the information. We might know where they went on their vacation this year, but we don't have intimate relationships.
Yeah, we see it with the phones, smartphones, that people are kind of locked in, and they fail to realize that they can sit there together. I know everybody deals with this to some degree.
That's true.
It's easy for us to kind of get fixated on what we're looking up or what social media platform we're on. It's easy for us, and before we know it, we're isolating ourselves. We're isolating our lives, and we're not really knowing or being known.
That's right.
Not very close to the people that we may sit with hours at a time.
Yeah.
And I know I kid our kids, our young adult kids. I always get on to them if they've got their phones, and they tell me I do the same thing with the iPad.
I was going to say, they get on to you too.
But with that,
sitting around in family situations, right?
Looking at phones. And I am not like them. Let me just make that clear. I am not like them with their phones. If I'm bad to pick up the iPad sometime at home.
You like your iPad better than you like your phone.
It's a news source.
You just keep it up,
the print's bigger than iPad. Same difference, but again, I'm not when we're together. When we're together.
Yeah.
And I say together, I mean, we're together, and I'll have.
You're talking about our extended family.
Yeah, our extended family. But again, it's easy. What I'm saying is you can be in a crowd and still be alone.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the point. And, if you're married, maybe you kind of went into marriage looking, for intimacy and a place where you are not alone. And Eric's already said it. We can still enter marriage and be very alone, and the intimacy not be there that God intended. So whether you're married or whether you are single and maybe you're seeking that relationship, I think really it's important for us to look at what is the reason why do we many times suffer with this thing called isolation and loneliness, even if we are in relationship. Yeah. And if you're not maybe in a marriage relationship, I would say, man, going into it, this is something that you really need to be aware of. And even in extended relationships, there's this thing I think that every single one of us, just in our humanity, that kind of fights against really what God created for us, and that is intimacy with Him and with other people. And I think that big thing that a lot of people fight is just selfishness.
No.
What'd you think?
Well, again, no? I mean, we are, by nature, all of us are selfish. We're born with that.
So you're agreeing, right?
Yeah, we're born.
Okay, just saying.
Yeah, and again, the Bible's very plain. It says, we're born. Our iniquity is evident, our brokenness is evident, and we're each prone to kind of go do our own thing.
That's right.
It's easy for us to be selfish, do our own thing.
Absolutely. We see that even like in little kids, right?
Sure.
In infants. They want to do their own thing. Selfishness comes in. That's my toy. That's my whatever it is that they're going after that. Yeah. And we're all that way. I think as we get to be adults, we are better maybe at masking it a little bit. But, unless we allow God to work in our life, we can be overcome by the selfishness.
Yeah, if you looking for, the premise of that, Isaiah 53:6 says we each, sheep, we've gone our own way. We
go our own way.
We do our own thing, and we all have that nature about us. So, have to look at the reality is in relationships, we have to look at what is it that causes that? Why do I feel like, there are times where I just it doesn't really matter what others are doing or what they think or how they feel. Why do we get that way?
Well, I think, a lot of times I think, we just have the right to tend to ourselves. Maybe we've worked hard and we've made the paycheck, or maybe we've been staying with the kids all day, and maybe we're just worn out from those things in life. And so we feel like, okay, I have a right to do something for me right now.
Need some me time.
Yeah, that's a big term, people. Or I need to use my money for what I want because I worked hard for this money.
Boy, that sounds so selfish. You shouldn't be that way.
I'm trying.
That is true though. Again, it's easy for us to feel like, I really deserve this.
Right.
I've worked hard. I've been at it. I've tried to provide for my family. Here we guys are. I've provided for my family. I bust my can every day, and I just need to be left alone. I deserve this time. I deserve this quiet. If you just be quiet for a little while. And just let me alone.
Surely he is not talking to me, right?
But again, I think that's our nature. I think every one of us are given to that. Each one of us are gone.
Even though we're created for relationship and we're created for intimacy, that sin nature, that nature that we've inherited, right? It fights against that in our desire just to be selfish. I think, too,
the word today, I think that, the modern term I would say is entitlement. And I think there are a lot of people that live with a sense of entitlement that, it's so easy for us. We're taught that now. We're taught to, just please ourselves, do what we want to do, just make sure I'm happy. And, the reality is in all of that searching to be happy, if it's just about satisfying yourself.
Right.
I often say some of the most miserable people on the planet that I've ever been around are people that just say, I'm going to do what makes me happy. I'm going to do what pleases me.
Yeah, I just think that's a lie of culture, is the lie of the enemy in our life that says, if I can just do what I want to do, I'm going to be happy.
But see how that pushes against that intimate,
absolutely
real relationship that we need.
Pour ourselves out.
Yeah.
Right? For others that we really find, true happiness, contentment. And again, that when we seek for ourselves, we're really moving ourselves into isolation. And, resisting the intimacy that is open for us in
I had
life.
somebody not long back look at me and say, I know my marriage is in trouble. I know that, we're, and this was a critical place in their life. I know my marriage is in trouble. I know that this is probably going to cause our family to be destroyed, but I'm going to do what I want to do. And, I've watched that and I've watched that play out. And buddy, you talking about,
it's not a pretty thing, right?
It's disaster.
Destructive.
Yeah. It's so destructive. And
yeah.
And again, I think that we are capable, all of us are capable of that. But again,
we sure are.
And as we lead these podcasts, again, we recognize our audience primarily as an audience that are Jesus followers, as Christians. And again, we know that even then, it's still we're prone
That's right.
to do our own thing. But every day of our lives in marriage,
That's right,
in parenting, every day we've got to be willing to say, all right, what does his life look like?
Yeah.
What does his life? What was his example?
That's right.
What did Jesus show us?
Man, he was willing to lay his life down, right? He was willing to give it all. And in that, intimacy for us was restored. Think about it. Again, all the way back to Genesis, Adam and Eve, they chose to do their own thing. They chose to go against what God had said and satisfy what they thought was their, what was going to make them happy or what was going to
appealed to them, right?
That's right. What appealed to them. They wanted to have their own way, and it cost them their intimacy with God. It cost them that time where God came down in the cool of the day. Cost them their intimacy
with God and their intimacy with each other.
Absolutely
and
right.
Again,
but go ahead, I'm sorry. No. I was just going to say, because of what Jesus did in coming and being unselfish and laying his life down, intimacy was restored. Right. So we can have intimacy with God. We can have intimacy with one another. Man, Eric just said it, maybe most people listening are in Christian relationships, Christian homes, families. Man, there's an intimacy that God has given us with him and with our relationships with those that we love.
Yeah, and I give up my right to be I give up my right for life to be about me.
Yeah.
I really become focused on others, the ones that God has placed in my life, the ones that God has given me, the people that I have the privilege to connect with in life. And again, I think that life, the healthy life that God intends for you, is always a life that has relationship, good, healthy relationships, intimate relationships. Right. And I know that husband and wife, we use the word intimacy. I know that's another level. That's another place of knowing. But again, other people that we have close, intimate relationships with, to the degree that God intends for those. And again, I think that if we're not careful, it's easy for us to forget about the people.
The others. That's right. And it's easy to forget to live our life for the others, even outside of our homes. I mean, what are we teaching? If you have kids, what are we teaching our children? Does everything revolve around them?
I think if you look at the world we're in, I'd say that happens a lot.
Yeah.
That even our children are taught that the world revolves around them.
That's true.
And that's something we have to battle.
We're guilty, even as, trying to be good parents or good grandparents, if you're in that role yet. It's easy to make everything revolve around them. But God, help us to teach them.
But on a daily basis, we have to follow the example. Jesus showed us that, that if you're going to, in Mark 10, he said, if you want to be great, then you become the servant.
I love that.
And again, you lay your life down. You give your right up every day.
Great family, right? Great intimate relationships when we are willing to lay our lives down for one another. Man.
We've got to be willing to give ourselves away. I love what it says in John chapter 12 where Jesus said, look, he said, unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it gets in the ground and dies, when we give up our right, we're willing to die to ourselves, die to our own rights.
Yeah.
when we're willing to do that, then we flourish. Our life flourishes. It becomes productive.
Yeah, relationships flourish.
It becomes productive in so many different ways.
And man, that is something that we have to do on a daily basis, right?
Sure.
Got to lay our life down. But there is no life greater than the one that is lived for others, right?
That's right.
That'll put others first. Man, such joy. You want to find happiness? It sounds crazy, I know, according to world standards, but if you want to find happiness and joy in your life, personally, in your marriage, in your family, man, learn to lay it down.
I was reading somewhere earlier today. I think it was, I'm sorry. I think it was one of my devotionals this morning that was talking about the fact that how we live our lives, and real joy is found. Mm-hmm. Real joy is found when we find our significance toward others.
Yeah.
And how we can make a difference in others. And I can't agree anymore. What
That's
life,
good.
Man, what life we want to live, what life matters is when we know that somewhere along the way we've mattered.
Making a difference.
We've made a difference for somebody else. And where should that happen any more than in our family units? And
start at home.
Just encourage.
I've heard that before, haven't you? It
always
should start at home. Man, we got to get out of here. It's getting late.
Let down your guard.
Yeah, open up your life.
Give up yourself, and have a relationship that is healthy.
That's right.
I'm missing the words there, but again, make sure your relationships
that you're not isolated,
rich and full and complete.
That's right. Yeah, man.
Time to go.
So good to be with you. Thank you for tuning in to Home Matters. Your home matters, and we'll see you next time.